Clash Royale.
Welcome, guys, to the SSL Round-of-4 Dark versus Classic. It's me, Valdez, with Rapid joining me today. Today is going to be a fantastic PvZ day. It's going to be just amazing games all day long.
And not just because we're going to be casting them, but also because you all are watching them. It's going to be Dark versus Classic in an SKT T1 team kill. So lots of T's going on here tonight. Yeah, much like what was pointed out in the title of the Team Liquid thread article, which you guys should definitely go read about today's games. This is a kind of a rematch of the Season 1 semifinals, where these guys faced off once again. Of course, at that point in time, it was a little bit of a different situation. Guys like Dark were actually maybe a little bit of an underdog, and Classic was the guy that smashed that tournament.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see, where we've come. I feel like both of these guys are really on fire nowadays. Classic is doing really, really well. He didn't have the best beginning, especially in Pro League, but now he's coming back. He's doing well in Pro League, doing well in GSL. He's here in SSL as well. And, both of these guys are SSL champions.
That is very true.
They've both gotten it. So either one will get another final here at the SSL.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason if you guys watch that intro video that Dark is the guy sitting in that chair. Because he is actually just that good. Like you said, both SSL champions. And you really have to ask yourself that question when you come here this deep in the tournaments. Like, do these players have what it takes to win? And for both Classic and Dark, they do. And they have proven that over and over again in multiple different tournaments. Classic, of course, a GSL champion as well. So very, very storied players, and especially recently. Classic, when he won his first GSL, like, that guy was a monster. Everybody's talking about him. But since then, he's kind of been a little bit under the radar. But recently has been really, really powerful force for SKT. So really looking forward to seeing a much stronger overall player. But for Dark, man, he's so creative. He's just it reminds me a lot of a more solid macro version of Rogue. But it's been his early aggressive strats that he's played versus most of the Protosses since the last cross finals that have really started to power him up and make him a little bit too tough for most Protosses to deal with.
He's definitely one of the best players at playing a best of 7. He's great at preparing, coming in with different builds for different maps. They get the map list, they know what they're playing. He's got a strategy for this best of 7, no doubt. He did it against Stats in the last finals, right? He just tore him apart, even showed us a new style in ZVP as well with the Ling Bane style. We'll see if he gets to play some of that. But Classic, I feel like he is also really on point. He's got great PvZ. And I think this is going to 4-3. I don't even know who's going to win it. I hesitate to call anyone right now, but I think it's going to 4-3.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Classic, no stranger to tearing nerds apart as well. And it was actually his domination of a little guy named Rogue over in the GSL group stage that was just some of the most dominating boppening I have ever seen out there. Rogue, kind of maybe the second best Zerg in Korea right now, super creative as well, and Classic just wiped the floor with him. I remember watching that that group in the audience and just being like, You can't just do that to somebody. But Classic, great PvZ.
Is that legal? I don't think that should be on TV.
That's like one of those things where you point out, it's like, stop, he's already dead. But Dark, definitely capable of doing that as well. Beating TY to get here. I mean, you can't underestimate just how good that means that you actually are. Taking out Zest as well, just as another matchup, is not something that you need to take lightly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a time that Dark had ZVT as one of his weaker matchups. Mark came out to snipe him a couple times last year, but now ZVT is just amazing. He wrecked TY, right? It wasn't close. I think it was a 4-1. I think TY took 1. And guys, we're going to go into actually a player interview video here, so let's jump into that in just a second and see what these players had to say about the matchup coming up here.
스타리그는 당연하게 올라갈 거라고 생각하고 있어서 생각보다 그렇게 좋진 않았고요. 그냥
오랜만에 4강이어서 되게 설레이기도 하고
박영우니까 당연한 결과다라고 생각했어요.
한 번만 더 이기면 결승전이기 때문에 얼른 경기에서 결승에 가고 싶어요.
사실 도호 형이랑 시즌 1에서 3대 0으로 가뿐하게 이겼기 때문에
제가 좀 준비가 덜 됐기도 했고 시즌 1이었기 때문에 이렇게 게임에 적응도 못했을 때라고 생각을 해요.
박영호 선수와 김도우 선수의 경기.
강력하고 완벽한 모습을 박영호 선수가 보여주는, 그것도 그 안정감 있는 김도우를 상대로.
서로 견제만 하는 상황이라서 지난 시즌에 비해서 좀 어려울 것 같긴 해요.
좀 저그전이 괜찮게 되고 있기 때문에 이번에는 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
팀킬에 좋은 추억밖에 없어서
팀킬이어가지고 더 부담스러운 게 있어요.
나이에 비해서 열심히 하는 선수.
저번 시즌 우승자이기도 하고 최고의 저그라고 생각을 하고 있긴 해요. 네, 그 당시에는 이제 영호 토스전이 거의 무적 포스였는데 최근에 좀 지는 모습 보면서 할만하다라고 생각을 하고 있고
그냥 되게 좀 노련한 것 같아요. 도호 형이 26살인데 게이머로 치면 거의 약간 할아버지급인데 그렇게 열심히 하기 쉽지 않거든요. 제가 생각했을 때는. 한편으로는 존경스러워요.
상대가 예측하지 못한 플레이를 하면 쉽게 무너지는 경향이 있는 것 같아서 그 점을 잘 파악하면 충분히 승산이 있을 것 같아요.
상대가 준비 잘해와서 제가 지는 것도 있지만 제가 항상 질 때는 제 몸이 너무 힘들 때 게임이 잘 안 돼서 지거든요. 항상.
그대로 가면 힘들겠지만 이제 다전제 판짜기까지 하면 충분히 이길 수 있을 거라고 생각을 해요.
잘 하시는데 별로 두렵진 않아요.
쉬지 않고 달려오고 있는 것 같은데 피곤해 보이는 것 같고 이번에 깔끔하게 치고 좀 쉬었으면 좋겠다.
도호 형이 빨리 떨어져서 그냥 쉬어라, 푹 쉬어라 말하는데 그렇게 말하다가 진짜 두 개 다 떨어지고 영원히 쉬실 수 있으니까 그냥 하나만 집중적으로 연습했으면 좋겠어요.
So, there you have it, guys. I know you couldn't exactly understand the Korean, but
There
Dark
we
being
do
cocky
have
as
it.
ever,
Man,
and
Dark
classic
was
confidence as
Dark
well.
was laying the smackdown. He's like, Classic is 26 years old, which basically makes him a grandfather in gamer years. So. Dark also mentioning that Classic has been working very, very hard, and so he wants to give him a little bit of rest by knocking him out of
Knock
the
him
SSL.
out, and he can rest forever until the next season, basically.
Knock him into the gamer's grave. And that is something that should be noted. Both of these players have been eliminated from the GSL. SK Telecom is out of the SPL as well, so this is the only tournament left for these guys right now.
Yeah, very, very true. And the other interesting thing about this is that this side of the bracket is actually much stronger. If you just look at results, Dark and Classic is the heavy favorite. Whoever wins this looks more like a finals than what the actual finals will be. Like, I'm just going to call it as it is, right? Because on the other side, you got Patience and Solar going head-to-head. Those are two guys that they got a couple of big upsets, Patience beat Zest and Solar defeated Deer. And, those other two players probably were more suited to be in the round of 4, but it was an upset for both of them. And, whoever gets out on that side is going to have a really rough match in the finals.
Right, I think everybody on the other side of the bracket's an Iron Maiden fan. They got some Fear of the Dark in there. Here you can see the map list for tonight's games. New Gettysburg, Dusk Towers, Frozen Temple, King Stage on Station, Apotheosis, Frost, and Galactic Process are our last 3 maps. Of course, they are the newer maps, with the exception of Frost, but we will not get a chance to see them if it's a quick 4-0. It is a best of 7, so there is so much StarCraft to be played here tonight. I'm actually just excited to get things started off on New Gettysburg.
Yeah, New Gettysburg, a fantastic map, always creates really, really good games. Funny that Classic is like, no, I do not want to play Apotheosis. Please
No way,
get that
man.
out of here. He picks that 7th. He's like, if that can be as late as possible, that would be great.
Would it be great? So here we go. We're getting into our first game of this best of 7 semifinals, round of 4, whatever you guys want to call it. You can always call it awesome. It's Dark versus Classic in an SKT T1 team kill. Let's get into game number 1.
Welcome to New Gettysburg for map number 1. Down in the bottom right. Well, you guys can see it there, Dark versus Classic. Down in the bottom right, the Zerg player SK Telecom. It is dark.
Which is actually kind of ironic because it is actually so dark up here on
They
the
turned
upper
off all the
floor.
lights randomly.
Let's see what the fan says. Says, let's go dark. You are the reason that I came into StarCraft 2. So that's how I got into StarCraft 2. Hashtag big fan.
This is Classic down in the bottom left. It says win and go to BlizzCon fighting.
With lots of little B thumbs up there at the end. Nice. All right, so let's talk about what we have here in the actual game. We've got expansions from both players, although this should maybe prompt Dark into maybe a more economic version. You never want to be on equal basis with the Protoss player, but we'll see what they both have to see as the Overlords are overlording their way across that little bridge.
Just doing Overlord things, you know.
That is true. Just Overlord stuffs. Early, well, not early, but there's the Probe Scout coming in. We'll see the natural there in the natural, where you would expect the natural to be.
Bunch of dirty men have come to watch the games. We're Protoss players, but we're rooting for Dark. Okay. One of the more interesting signs we've had here down at the arena.
Yeah, I like to pride myself on being able to bring the most interesting signs to games when I go to them.
Yeah.
But it appears as if I need to step up my game and also write my signs in Korean. But one step at a time.
One step at a time, man. He's commenting on Wolf's tweets in Korean. Soon we're going to get some Korean signs.
Well, I actually just started tutoring in Korean last week, so still starting to get my Korean game up there. But speaking of games, we have one right before us, Valdez, and no third base coming up just yet, and that is what that probe from Classic will be scouting out. Now, the last time I got a chance to watch Protoss play, it was yesterday in GSL, and it was Myung-Sik. That guy is the cheesiest guy in the entire world, so I'm always kind of worried. Where are we going to see those pylons outside the base? But this is a very different player in Classic, a little bit more standard, definitely able to play that long macro game. But for Dark, whenever he plays against Protoss, he does not want to play the long macro game. He wants to take it and end it early. So some of that aggression pays off very well, but especially in his GSL series, it did not. So gonna have to see whether or not Dark can get out to that early aggression, although he has decided to commit for a third base, so might not be seeing that for a while.
Look at this. We do see a Stargate here at a Classic, and it's made right underneath an Overlord. I thought he was just going to go Phoenixes and control the sky, clear up, take an earlier third base. It looks like what he wants to do with this is he doesn't really care that he's scouted, but he wants to take an earlier third base and defend it with a Oracle. So, if Dark did want to put on some of that, Dark Zerg pressure that we do see a lot of the time against Protoss, then, he would be prepared for it here. He makes the pylon first. Very, very careful here from Classic.
Well, and Classic also just has, not a whole lot to defend all of this. He's going Void Ray second, and this is actually an interesting style we've been seeing from a lot more Protosses, not even just in PvZ, but also in PvT. One of the strats that Gumiho ran last night was like a triple Void Ray all in that was actually so effective.
Myung-Sik you're talking about?
Myung-Sik.
Yeah. Myung-Sik is a crazy player, man. I'm sure Classic was watching some of those games, but I don't know if he was taking notes.
It takes a special person to cheese as hard as that guy does.
I think Myung-Sik got to a point where he's like, wow, I'm actually doing really good. I'm not sure that I can beat Gumiho, though, in a straight-up game. This is probably my hardest matchup, that I've had here in the GSL. So we're gonna cheese 5 games in a row.
It was just relentless. There was so much cheese flying everywhere. But I mean, it's like that classic argument against those guys on the ladder. They're just like, well, if you had played a straight-up game against me, I would have won. And I'm just like, well, it's not called the game of niceness too. It's like, well, no, it's StarCraft.
It's the game of try to win at all means possible. And look at this. We do have 7 extra gates as well as resonating glaives coming up here. He's still producing probes, but he could definitely put on an immense amount of pressure with this many gateways in the depths. I
mean, that's not even a gateway explosion. That's like a gateway supernova. There's just gates everywhere. It's like, well, you don't need walls when you can make the entire wall out of gates. That was like a dank AoE 2 reference from back in the day, but let's keep an eye.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
All right, well, let's keep an eye on all of this air that's coming out from Protoss. This is New Gettysburg. it's a very good map to have air control on for Protoss because that does allow you to take your expansions on the islands. However, Classic has actually just gone up to 3 bases already, no islands involved. So it'll be really interesting to see what Dark does when he finally does do something, because it's been all expanding all the time for both of these players so far.
Is he going to go for the ramp? He's got 3 sentries in that Warp Prism. Oh, it does get scouted, though, just there by that one Zergling. He is going to warp in here. We do have Roaches and Banelings on the way for the defense.
Now, it'll be interesting to see what this the entire team the entire army composition. I'm like. I'm showing my
some of your league colors.
My by-game curiousness here.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what this composition looks like for Classic. It looks like it's very adept heavy on the ground, and that's where these Banelings are going to be so effective.
Is he just going to attack in here? This is kind of interesting. He gets hit by a ton of Banelings, actually. No force fields or anything. The sentries are in this Warp Prism trying to go for the main, but this gets shut down.
That's like you have T-Mobile as your cell phone provider, because you're always getting those good connections. Banelings all over those adepts, but there's still quite a few left on that ramp. Oh my God, it goes down. Holy cow, that's like one of those 10-range queens, man. I don't know how I mean, when
the homing missiles. I don't know what that was. That was insane.
I mean, when people tell you to reach out and touch someone, that's not quite what they're going for, but that was the longest range queen. Now here comes this very rogue-esque Overlord drop strat that you've seen a lot of Zergs sort of work into their play very recently. Dark bringing in the Banelings in an Overlord. We'll see if it gets spotted out. Now, ideally, you want to time that when the Protoss pushes out and is fighting so that you have their attention split and can get some good connections on those worker lines. Let's see if he sees it in time. Where's the overcharge? Oh my God! He doesn't see it! This is so rough to deal with. Only 7 worker kills, though.
You could have gotten better connections, actually. A lot of very weak probes over there. Still gets 7, which is not bad. We do have a ton of pressure, though, coming out from the Protoss, though. There is no defense here at the 4th base.
Oh, man. And you don't need Banelings to kill all these workers here. It turns out adepts are pretty good. Now, he does have to worry about losing a lot of them, and it does look like that may be the case here.
Oh, boy.
Beautiful splits here. And these adepts are going to get to shade. Now, there are Ravagers to deal with them, but Ravagers do not do well against the depths.
24 drones have died. This is unbelievable. He's really taken that knee play style to heart. He's like, well, I can just make adepts and kill him, I guess.
Well, Dark's not controlling his units correctly either. He's actually allowing them to body block each other, and so they're not actually able to attack these. And he's actually going to lose his 4th base, the workers and the hatchery itself. Just nothing can deal with these adepts.
I think it's just way too much damage at this point. 33 drones have gone down. He's
Where's
down
his
42.
army?
He's losing more and more.
What's he doing?
He can't deal with all of these shades. He can't be everywhere at once.
Well, I think he can't. It's not that he can't be everywhere, it's that he can't be anywhere. It's like, where are you going? He's going to pick off a few of these adepts, but a sizable amount, namely 4, will escape.
50 drones died. How do you come back from that?
Mules.
I don't think you do.
You got to be dropping those mules. Yeah, unfortunately, with Zerg unable to do that, and now sitting on 27 workers, you can see that Dark has maybe just had enough, and he's just going totally Zerglings, and now trying to make a counterattack to get himself back in the game. But, I mean, how much damage do you really have to do in order to get yourself back in this?
It's going to have to be a lot. But look at already the pylon spread that he's got, not just on the low ground, but on the high ground. He knows that the counterattack is coming because he did so much economic damage. There's no way that Dark can push into this.
With his entire army marked now with the revelation, like what's the surprise move? Everybody knows everything here, and for Classic, he knows that he is in a great spot. A huge stasis ward on so many of those Zerglings, and now shading forward, Classic's going in for the kill.
He's just gonna go for it. He stasis so many of those Zerglings, and here we go. Even the Void Ray getting into the mix here.
There's actually decent Baneling hits there on the back, but there's just so much Protoss. However, this Zerg army will actually get unstasised here anytime now, and so that's actually going to be good to take out these Immortals in the back. Might actually lose a couple of them there, but no, the Immortals are too strong.
That's it. Immortals are a pretty good unit. So are Adepts. Classic playing that Protoss like it was a fiddle, man. He is on point tonight, and you can see the frustration in Dark's face after that one.
Yeah, Classic bringing back his old school, all your base are belong to us, because he was just shading everywhere and able to take out, what was it, 50 workers?
50, yep. Yeah, just 50.
I go through entire games where I don't build 50 workers, Valdez. Like, that is crazy. So it's awesome to see just incredible play and control there by Classic, but maybe not just incredible by Classic, but Dark really dropping the ball.
Yeah, he didn't split up his units correctly. You know, even he like sniped the Warp Prism, and I don't think he was prepared for that second follow-up attack.
Right.
Because there were something like 9, 10 gateways on the map. He had so many adepts, you know, just refresh them, even after the Baneling hits. And what he did was really smart, is he shaded into the natural, but at the same time he shaded to the 4th. So it was, you know, it's really spread out on that map of New Gettysburg. So it's so hard to split your units and try to defend like 3 different locations at the same time.
Very difficult to defend, but at the same time, he had 2 Overlords, Dark did, in position to scout out Classic's tech. So he gets in there and he scouts out not only his bases, but also his tech. But what he doesn't do is go deeper and see how many gateways there are. And then all of a sudden, 10 gates show up and 1 million adepts are inside your base. You're just like, well...
Yeah, it's like an adept infestation at that point.
It's
Protoss turning into the bug race somehow with the adepts. That really set the tone for this series. You know, a lot of people saying Dark going to take this one. A lot of